A lot of discussion regarding how to implement a social credit score has been circulating within the US and has picked up some steam as the political left has championed its cause. It has been used in China to enforce conformity to the state, which is an appendage of the Communist Party. But many people see it as some foreign concept that will never reach our shores, if they even know about it at all. In fact, the US has already begun playing with some version of the social credit score. In short, the social credit score is similar to a financial credit score, where people receive a score which states how reliable they are with their finances, and the score determines their qualification for certain things, such as loans. In the case of a social credit score, a score is provided that establishes a person's history of behaving to a standard that is desired by those in power. And depending on an individual score, they may qualify to participate in certain areas of social life, such as freedom of travel or the ability to access the internet. Thus far, in the US, it has gained attention through its application in what is being called environmental social governance, or as it is more commonly referred to as ESG. Here, those in power leverage their influence to pressure companies to act in accordance with far left-wing ideologies, such as Marxism. And if these companies do not comply, they will receive consequences, such as losing investment money and partnerships, as well as debanking, deplatforming, and being branded as a critically unethical company by those behind the curtain who pulled the strings. The US does not have a formal social credit scoring system. Much of what has been utilized is arguably in beta testing, but it does affect more than just companies. Everything that was just explained can also happen to the individual, and it has. And even if the government is not the driver of furthering such a system, it appears that the private sector has had limited reservations pushing forward. This all gets especially concerning when you consider the government's conversation about developing a central bank digital currency, which is essentially a government-issued cryptocurrency that allows the government to easily track each individual transaction. This is because it would digitally tag every unit of currency for tracking purposes and centralize every transaction onto a single ledger that is controlled by the government. A rollout of a central bank digital currency on top of a social credit scoring system will effortlessly enable the government to punish individual members of the public for acting against the government's wishes by restricting the individual's agency of their own money. In other words, if somebody likes a post on Twitter that calls out governmental wrongdoing, the government can freeze their financial accounts as if they are applying sanctions to a foreign nation for human rights violations. Or if a person's social credit score declines to a certain level, the government can ban them from using their money on certain products and services. The advancement of technology can be a double-edged sword. This form of currency does have its benefits, but it also carries a lot of potential for something more draconian, where it makes life easier for us on one end. On the other, it can prop up the government's ability to surveil and control us. I mean, how far are we really away from the government being able to remotely access our car's electronics and flicking the off switch because they did not approve of a comment we made regarding their ability to do so? To engineer their social credit system, China relies heavily on being a surveillance state. They use their intelligence and law enforcement agencies to box in their population as they seemingly watch over their every move. China is often the case example for a modern, advanced police state, but many countries in the West have done things that are on par with many of China's actions. Just because a country is despotic with a smile does not make them any less sinister than if they wore a scowl. In 2020, Canada showed the world how little freedom their public has when its government intends to abuse its power. When a national protest broke out against vaccine mandates, truckers drove down to the Capitol to voice their objection. Deeply upset by this, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau froze the bank accounts of protesters, no matter if they were directly or even indirectly involved. And he did all this without having a central bank digital currency. With it, he could have gone farther. In the US, the government cannot easily do this. In Canada, all they had to do was declare a national emergency and request for the banks to follow their edicts. US citizens are protected from this by their Constitution, but the Constitution will not protect anyone if it is not followed by those in power. And we have seen far too many cases where the law was handled loosely by those at the top, who make the rules and determine who should be punished for breaking them. As time has gone on, people remember what Canada did, but it is as if the government did not receive any consequences for their overreach. Due to this, governments all around the world have a real example of what will happen if they choose to rule with a stronger iron fist. As time goes on, governments will push forward inch by inch to see what they can get away with. This will go on until they have the power they desire, but it is very unlikely that they will ever be fully satiated. Being a surveillance state does not necessarily mean that a country will institute a social credit score, but it does make it largely inevitable. And if you flip the equation, if a country wants to institute a social credit score, it will likely need to become a surveillance state. It is difficult for the US to spy on its population because of its constitutional rights. But this does not stop private companies from doing the spying as well as the data harvesting. Private companies can do this already and often with our approval. People sign their user agreement without even batting an eye. What do you think happens when you allow a company access to all your files in exchange for a download of their app? These companies can state that if we do not allow them to do this to us, then we cannot use their products and services. If enough companies do this, we will be in a tight spot to either comply or live without these products and services. Things that may even include necessary items, such as food and clothing, or even a 401k investment plan so you can save for retirement. With the market share that big corporations make up, it is already difficult to avoid giving them your business. Also, if you do not want to give your money to a business that supports woke ideology and donates money to woke causes, you will be hard-pressed. Left-wing ideology tends to believe that you cannot stay neutral. If you are not with them, you are against them. They stridently practice this belief as they apply social pressure to people and businesses, and strong-arm them into doing whatever they want. To avoid backlash, people and businesses go along with them. Private companies can also choose who they do business with. If they deem someone as socially unacceptable, they will refrain from allowing them to be their customer. This has become common in the US. Many major banks and financial companies, including Bank of America, JP Morgan, as well as PayPal, have closed members' accounts because they do not share politics with certain conservatives. These conservatives oftentimes do not have extreme beliefs, let alone have they acted out in a way that was excessively amoral. But for some reason, these banks and companies feel they carry some sort of baggage that will make their company look bad. It seems that they just simply do not want to be associated with conservatives because it will make them look bad to the left, who commonly threaten them to follow their disposition. Companies have been known to partner with left-wing activist organizations who consult them on who to target. In a way, the social credit scoring system is an evolution of cancel culture. A cottage industry has developed out of cancel culture, and social credit scores are a logical next step for it. We have also seen left-wing factions within the government partner with private industry to act on their behalf. Since the government cannot censor the public's speech and snoop into their private messaging and data, they ask companies to do it for them. And many companies have become like an arm of the federal government in the US. Prior to Elon Musk purchasing Twitter, the company was essentially a revolving door for employing former FBI employees. For example, James Baker. He was a high-level official within the FBI before transitioning to general counsel for Twitter. He had close ties to Hillary Clinton and was intimately connected to the falsified documents that claimed that Trump colluded with Russia. This may all seem hyperbolic now, but we must acknowledge that this type of stuff does not tend to happen overnight. It is a process that takes time to play out. Those in power do not want to shake everything up too much and cause a commotion, So they build their house brick by brick. They try different things out that may push the envelope to see how far they can go. If they receive pushback, they take a step back, adjust their footing, and remap their strategy. Like the saying of the frog in boiling water goes, we will only realize where we are as a country only after it is too late. The changes will occur so slowly that we will barely notice their progress. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, comment, and share this video. This is the Agency of Influence.